Weeks of protest have followed the police shooting of unarmed Antonio Zambrano-Montes, and now we find out that the police fired 17 shots at him, again unarmed, with 5 to 6 of those shots actually hitting him. We'll have more detail, but first, here is video of the actual shooting.
Is open a stress-free numeric checking account. So follow the steps and presto, you're automatically entered to win. You get one entry every
graphic footage
through February of this year.
We all need some aloha. Don't forget your sunscreen.
You'll automatically be entered to win a trip to paradise with you. Visit your favorite Numerica branch or go online to Numerica.
God damn it, man.
Wow.
So, look, background on this guy, he apparently had been throwing rocks at cars going by. He's thrown rocks before. So, obviously, there's an issue here.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks that there
Nobody
isn't
does
an
that
issue.
normally.
Yeah, and so, he's not well known as a political agitator or anything like that. So when you have a guy randomly throwing rocks at cars, there's some chance that he's a little unstable, right? So let's just be careful, right? And it's unlikely that he has tremendous malice, right? I mean, that's the assumption that I would have. Now, all this is unnecessary anyway, me explaining this, because you saw the video. You saw, and the police admit he had no knife, he had no gun. They say there were rocks nearby. Now, he was throwing rocks anyway, so that's not in dispute.
We know he was throwing rocks.
Right.
And you see, right before he shot, his arm is in the air.
Yeah. Dude, it's easy for me to say, right? Oh, well, you weren't there and with that rock in that guy's hand. I wouldn't have shot the guy. I hope to God I wouldn't have shot the guy. Would you have shot the guy? Really? That guy who's obviously unstable, who you know does not have a gun, who you know was throwing the rocks. At a worst case scenario, he had a rock in his hand.
Yeah.
And by the way, you were firing at him as he was running away from you. And by the way, you were firing on a sidewalk with other people around.
There's cars around, yeah.
Yeah, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then he turns around, and I don't know, I saw like his hands were up, right? Yeah. I mean, you could argue that his hands were up to throw a rock. No, you could argue that his hands were up because he was as he's running away, he's like, don't, I presume he's saying, and you don't have to make any presumptions. His hands are up and he's right there. Don't shoot him. You killed him. Yeah, you killed him. Be a human being for a second.
There's something like after they had finished running through traffic, firing their guns multiple times, he then goes to an area where there's no people nearby. It's not like he's going to point blank hit someone with a rock. He's about 10 to 15 feet away from them. They could have easily sent 1 or 2 of the cops, while still being covered by a third with a gun, if you feel that that's necessary, to just tackle the guy. They chose not to tackle him. They'd already fired. They'd already convinced themselves, we are going to put this guy down. And so they did. They fired 5 or 6 shots hitting him there when he was just standing there clearly without a dangerous weapon. No threat to anyone nearby. They chose to kill him. They made that choice.
So this is unfortunately not an isolated matter, okay? So in this area, this killing was the 4th by police in less than a year for the city of Pasco here. The city only has 68,000 people. Yeah. It's not a big city. It's just 68,000. In under a year, the cops shot and killed 4 people, okay? And you're going to be shocked to find out that in the other 3 shootings, immediately cleared. Oh, we looked into it. They were fine. It's always fine. It's always fine. Oh, he had his hands up. Could have been throwing a rock. He threw rocks earlier. He existed. He was breathing. We had to make sure that he stopped breathing. I mean, you saw the tape, man. Would you have murdered that? Would you have killed that guy? Whatever you want to call it. Would you have shot and killed that guy in a similar circumstance? If you say yes, wow. I mean, we don't share the same level of empathy towards other human beings. And by the way, you are 1,000 times more scared of everything in the world than I am, okay? And if I don't care if John's standing right there and he's gonna throw a rock at my head, there's no way I take out a gun and blow his head off. There's no fucking way I do that.
Thank you.
And if you say, no, I can't take the rock, I'm so scared, I'm a cop, but I'm so scared, it's a risk, it might graze me, it might hit me, it might give me a concussion, it might, right? So I'm gonna shoot him in the head and kill him. Yeah. Man, that's, Jesus Christ, they're supposed to protect us, man. Yeah. They executed that guy.
The police say that they fired their stun guns multiple times. We don't see that in the footage. It's possible that it happened before the guy started recording it, but it doesn't matter. We saw what was in the footage. They chased the guy down, they cornered him, and then they shot him multiple times. Completely unnecessary, and apparently they're going to get off if the record in Pasco is any indication.